Good afternoon, everybody. We are Group 2A for the literature database. My name is Daniel Pimentel, and on my team, there is Brandon Delaney, Julie Cochran, Troy Brown, and Alex Alekwa. And let me share my screen real quick. But just for the agenda on today's meeting, I'm going to go over the background of the project, why we went forward and created this application. The next thing is the approach and methodologies. So we'll dig into the different technologies we used and the project management style that we followed for this project. For the next is a milestone overview. We'll go over the 3 different milestones that we did for this project and detail all of the different accomplishments for each milestone. Next, we'll go over the deliverables. I'll have some screenshots of all the different items that we created for this project. And then for the demo, Troy will go through and then just walk through the application that we've created. And then for the project retrospective, I'll just outline some things that we found out from doing this project. And then lastly, I'll have some links to some of the documentation that we've gone over today. All right, so going into the background of this project. So the reason we did this project was on the DResist website. There is a PDF with multiple citations. Apologies for the typo, I'll fix that in the final submission. But there was PDF document with a bunch of citations that you couldn't easily query, you couldn't search for. So it wasn't easy to navigate and find specific citations. So for the goal of this project was to scrape all of these citations from this PDF, break up the citations into different columns or fields so that you can search on the specific different columns, such as authors, title, stuff like that. And then we need to store all of this scraped data in a database in the cloud. And then we also need to create a form that will allow users to search for specific citations based on, again, title, author, section, and year. And here's just a quick screenshot of part of the document. As you can see, it's just a straight PDF document with a bunch of citations on it. All right, moving on to the next section. For the approach and methodologies, what we decided to do was for the scraping of the data, we decided to move forward with using Python to scrape the data and break up the citations in order to push it into the database. For the database, we did select MongoDB. And taking a step back, for Python, we used a few different libraries, but primarily we use pandas. So we basically pushed all of the data into an Excel file, 1 citation per line, and using pandas and some regular expressions, we went through and broke up the data into authors, title, section, year. We broke it up as much as possible. And it did take some manual intervention for some of the citations. For example, there is one citation, I think there was 10 different authors. So there were some citations that after we ran the script, most of the citations were broke up correctly, but we had to go through and then just manually fix a handful of different citations. And then one note, as you'll see in the first milestone, we had decided to use MySQL for the database, but then after that first milestone, we decided to make some adjustments and we transitioned to MongoDB. We just thought MongoDB was just a better fit for us, especially for that example that I showed with, I mentioned earlier, with the 10 different authors, but we didn't want to have like a bunch of columns up to author 10. So in MongoDB, we just have that one record with those 10 author fields. And moving on to the actual application itself. So we decided to use Node.js and Express on the back end. So for our API for the project, we set it up again with Node. And for the front end, we decided to use AngularJS. And so essentially, our goal at the beginning of this project was to, or after that first milestone, was to create a mean stack application that will allow us to store all those broken up citations in a MongoDB database in the cloud. We'll use Node.js and Express to communicate to the MongoDB database, and then create those routes on the back end, and then have the Angular front end formed. Use those endpoints created in Node to pull in the search criteria onto the browser itself. And then for our project management approach, we decided to go with an agile approach. Our main priority towards the beginning of the project was to create a working proof of concept first. And then once we have like the bare bones of the project in play, we'll slowly add some additional functionalities to meet all of the requirements. All right, so next section is the milestone overviews. So for milestone 1, what we accomplished by this milestone was we scraped all the data from the PDF into that Excel file that I had mentioned earlier, so 1 citation per row. We created, at this point, a test database and uploaded those sample records into the MySQL database. We went through, created a bare bones full stack application using Node.js, Express, Angular, and MySQL. And then we just set up the Google site and the URL for that Google site. We did have some challenges for this first part of the project. So we definitely struggled with grabbing all of those citations from the PDF in the first place. And then, as I mentioned earlier, some of those citations were structured a bit differently. So that, again, led to some issues with the scraping of the data. And then our team, we did struggle a little bit with Sequelize. Sequelize is a Node.js library that works with MySQL. A bit difficult for our previous courses in the MSIT program. Our group, we had worked with MongoDB and Angular and doing like a mean stack application. So introducing SQL into this setup confused a few of us, which kind of led us to, in milestone 2, transitioning over to using a MongoDB database. All right, so for milestone 2, got a lot of things done for this milestone. So first thing was we created that Python code using pandas and those regular expressions, and broke up the citations into separate columns or fields. Next, our team created a production MongoDB database, and we uploaded that finalized source data into the cloud. And we are using MongoDB Atlas for the hosting. And then for the backend for the Node.js and Express, we connected the server/API to the production MongoDB database, and we're able to just make some quick queries and get that information from the production database. And one note, we are utilizing Mongoose, the Mongoose library, to help communicate with MongoDB using Node.js and Express. And then additionally, we created some routes in the backend API and connected it again to the MongoDB database. And we created a few routes that allowed us to do some keyword searches. And then additionally, we created a bare bones Angular form and had that set up on the front end. We just hadn't connected it yet to the back end. And then just some challenges at this point. Transitioning to MySQL to MongoDB, we had to make some adjustments to our Gantt chart and to our project plan steps, but we were able to quickly update that, so that's good to go. And then again, as I'd mentioned, when we scraped that data after running that script, we had to go through and manually edit some of those citations before pushing it into the production database. And then finally, for milestone 3, we connected that front-end AngularJS form with the production database and the backend. And then next, we created a component, the list display component that Troy will go over in just a second. It shows all the citations in the database. And then we also created a navigation component in Angular that allows you to navigate between the home page, the list display component, and the search form. And then we set up the search form component, and we made it so that it connected to the backend and the database, and you're able to query the database based on section, year, title, and author. And then ultimately, once you submit that search, the results will appear in the browser. And again, Troy will show that in just a second. We did face some challenges with milestone 3. So originally in the beginning of the project, we were aiming to host the final full stack application online, but we were unable to. We had some issues with deploying it to Heroku, hit a lot of roadblocks, and we won't be able to meet that by the deadline. So the examples that we'll be showing you here in the demo is all on the local host for your reference. And then for the other things, for additional functionalities, these were just some additional things that we had outlined at the beginning of the project that we weren't able to meet in the short time to complete this project. But for the create citation component and the delete citation component, we've created the components. It is in the source code in GitHub, but we just haven't connected it to the front end yet. So down the line, that is something that we can implement. It's all in place. We just need to make sure that everything's connected in the front end. And then lastly, we had wanted to display the citations in different formats. So if you recall, we had broken up the citations so they have authors, title, section, publisher, year, everything like that. And then if someone had selected in the form they wanted an APA or MLA format, we would make changes to it. We did have some roadblocks on doing those different formats. So that was nice to have functionality that we could possibly implement in the future. All right, so next few slides, we are going to go over the deliverables. So we have a link to this in the final section. So this is the Python code. I just took a few screenshots of the code that we created. Basically, you can see that we're using pandas and then breaking up the citation into different fields in that data frame. And then when we were done, we just exported it into a CSV and then uploaded that into the MongoDB database. And here is the production MongoDB database. Again, it is in MongoDB Atlas, and as you can see, it has the different sections outlined. And here is a quick screenshot of the homepage of our application. Again, as you can see, it is on a local host right now, and it has navigation to the list sources component and the search sources component, which is the component that holds the form. So here is the search sources form. As you can see, you can look for the author, search by year, title, and section, and then underneath you will see the different results from your query showing up on the screen. And then here is the list sources component. It basically allows you to pull in all of these citations from the database, and it lets you sort by descending or ascending. And then here is just a couple of screenshots from our Google site. So we'll have links to all of our weekly notes, our logs, our final source file, our project plan, our Gantt chart, everything like that, and a link to this presentation as well. All right, so for this next slide, I'm going to go over the demo. So I'm going to show this quick video recording from Troy of the walkthrough of the application itself. All right, thank you, Troy. So that is our application. As you can see, we used all three components that I had outlined previously. You have those 4 search fields. You can query the database for the different citations. So overall, good starting point for this application that can definitely be built on in the future with implementing some additional components to add sources to the database, delete sources, and then add the functionality to sort using different different MLA, APA formats, stuff like that. All right. And then for the last slide, just a quick project retrospective. Just wanted to outline some things that we noticed that went well for the project. So first thing was the weekly meetings. So we met weekly on every Saturday around 11 a.m. As project manager, I went through, created basically the agenda for the meeting, and then went through all of the items that everyone worked on. And then at the end of the meeting, we outlined the actions that everyone was going to do for the upcoming week. And then their findings would be presented on the following meeting. And our agile project management approach definitely helped us as well. Creating that proof of concept early definitely helped us make sure that we got the baseline of everything that was needed for the project set up so that we could focus on more of the more granular problems, such as like the sorting, the ascending, descending, and stuff like that. And we, as a team, utilized Microsoft Teams a lot. We had a group chat so that we could stay communicating with each other in between our meetings, and we would share our findings and made a lot of progress doing that. One thing is we were challenged with everyone's availability. Everyone, especially us being remote learners, a lot of challenges with meeting all at the same time. But we recorded our weekly meetings and shared that with anyone who was not able to join the call so that they could get up to speed and they knew exactly what their responsibilities were for the upcoming week. And then just one shout out here for the last item. Definitely we utilized a bunch of skills we were taught in previous MSIT courses. Biggest one that definitely helped us out was the course, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but where we make the full main stack application, that helped us out. And then previous courses where we were able to learn Python assisted us as well. And then for our final slide, we just have some links here to the Python code, the full stack application source code for the application. Both of those first two links are on GitHub, and then we have the link to our Google site as well. But that is our presentation for Team 2A for the literature database. Thank you guys for your time. Have a good day.